I think we've already achieved our 2025 goals by sourcing 50% of our renewable energy 3 years ahead of what we had initially planned.
So what I'd like to find out from HPE is that, what are your plans around, in regards to the public sector? How are you
Yes.
working with the public sector to try and get, speed up a few things?
Elements such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, they're now becoming the catalyst into cloud adoption. And I think customers are now appreciating the value and the operational efficiencies that some of these technologies or emerging technologies are bringing to bear within their environments.
Hello and welcome to ITWeb TV. Today we are joined in studio by Sandile Dube. He is the HPE country manager and he's here to chat to us about the business, some of the challenges that HPE is seeing, and in light of load shedding, we're back to stage 6 today, just to find out plans for the future as well as what their strategy is in terms of growing in the South African market. Sandile, welcome.
Thank you, Sim. Thank you for inviting me. Great to be on your show.
Great, it's lovely to have you. As I said, we just want to hear more about HPE and business strategy, what you can tell us, and in terms of growth, the company locally, and what are some of the plans for the future. So just to start off, I just want to hear from you in terms of looking at the HPE business. How are things going in the South African market for you guys?
I think, dating back to 2019, I think we announced a vision, and that vision was to pivot to become a as-a-service business by 2022. And I think we've done incredibly well in terms of executing that vision over the years. And we were ahead of the curve, so to speak, in terms of becoming that as-a-service business by 2022. And that has gone incredibly well for us across a number of industries locally.
You spoke about becoming as a service business. Let me actually first, you said by 2022. Has that materialized for the local market? And if you can share with us what exactly that entails.
Sure. So what that means is essentially we're able to offer the entire HPE portfolio of solutions and services in a consumption-based model or in a pay-per-use model. And it has indeed materialized in the local market. And I think we've really seen quite a significant amount of uptake from a number of our clients across a number of industries.
And from what I know about HPE is that you guys are traditionally, a server and a storage business. So is this part of the business still making profits within the context of, what we're seeing with the cloud technology?
Although we've pivoted the business to becoming that consumption-based business, I think our traditional business still remains quite important to us for the simple reason that you have quite a number of our clients that still prefer to consume ICT services in a traditional form. Although we work with those customers in achieving their mandates, I think it helps us to remain relevant in terms of giving customers the ability to consume ICT services in a way that makes sense to them, be it in a consumption model or in the traditional aspect.
And you mentioned, consumption of ICT in a traditional format or model. Can companies still continue with that in terms of how, tech is advancing within the space that we're in? What would you say to that?
I think to answer the question, yes, they can. But it also depends on some of the business outcomes that motivates the spend or the investments in ICT solutions. And which is why our traditional business still remains quite a key aspect within our organizations, just so that we are able to cater for quite a number of customers in the way that they choose to consume ICT services.
And, when we look at some of the growth opportunities, and you mentioned that it's, the traditional business is still key for HPE. Is that what you guys are seeing? Are those opportunities still what you guys are seeing here locally within the South African context, that is?
To some degree, I think the biggest traction that we've seen is in this consumption-based model where customers are really preferring to consume these ICT services in a consumption-based model or in a pay-per-use model. And I think we've been quite fortunate as HPE, where if you look at the value proposition that we've brought to bear, particularly locally, it seems to have resonated extremely well across financial services, automotive industries, public sector, amongst many. And you'll appreciate some of the requirements that those industries might have with regards to very stringent requirements in terms of cloud offerings and what that brings to bear in terms of cost, in terms of visibility, in terms of control within their institutions.
Okay, thank you for that. And Sandile, within the South African context, a lot of businesses, there are a lot of challenges. Particularly, one of the main challenges is that like I said, when we started our conversation, is that we're back to stage 6,
Yes.
load shedding.
Unfortunately.
And just when we thought that things were kind of balancing out, we're back. It feels like we're back at square one. So just from how HPE is like, what are you doing to kind of as a barrier against some of these challenges, i.e. load shedding? What have you guys set up? What are some of the plans around that?
You're quite right. I think load shedding has got quite a significant impact to businesses at large and to our economy. I'll draw a comparison to a manufacturing company. I think you can appreciate the impact that a entity that's in manufacturing, how that would be impacted by load shedding. But I think just from an operational standpoint, we understand the risks and the concerns around load shedding, and that unfortunately has a significant impact to employment or unemployment rather. Whereas you look at a country like ourselves in South Africa, we're seeing a high levels of unemployment, particularly amongst the youth. And if load shedding persists, I think we then stand the risk of elevating an already high unemployment rate. In terms of what we are doing within South Africa, I think we work with quite a number of other organizations in ensuring that we address the load shedding challenges within the controls that we have within our business. I think fundamentally companies have been forced to a certain degree to look at alternate sources of energy. And that, for me, again, it really comes down to what needs to be done to sustain the operations of the business, what needs to be done to protect our economy, and therefore, I think it's incumbent to all of us to ensure that we mitigate the risks that are brought to us by load shedding, particularly in an effort to support the growth of our economy.
You mentioned how some organizations might be looking at alternative sources. What are you guys as HPE doing? What have you?
I think we've already achieved our 2025 goals by sourcing 50% of our renewable energy 3 years ahead of what we had initially planned. So that strategy is already in progress and we're executing on it.
Okay. I know that if you correct me if I'm wrong, you've been in this role for just over 2 years now.
Just less than 2 years.
Less than 2 years. How has that been for you? How are you driving, HPE's growth strategy, and for you personally, your goals that you set? Where do you find yourself in that?
It's been great. I think for me, it's really been exciting. First and foremost, I think I'm really quite pleased and really honored to work with the caliber of people that we've got within HPE, people that are really determined to make a difference, a meaningful impact, not only in business, but also in our society. So I draw a lot of energy from our people. I always say to them, they've got a lot of the answers to some of the challenges or the questions that we haven't answered as yet within our business, and what we need to do more of in terms of how we show up in the market, how we show up for our customers. But I think more than that, I think the role in itself has given me great visibility into the entire market with regards to ICT. And also it's highlighted the need for us to leverage the entire ecosystem. I think as one entity we can do a lot, but if we leverage the entire ICT ecosystem, there's so much more that we can achieve. And I'm quite excited about some of the ideas that we are exploring with some of my counterparts.
And can you share what those ideas are? Just any,
Not just yet, but I think in due course. I think in due course there will be some exciting news that should be shared in the public domain.
Okay. No, we'll wait to hear from you. On that, Sandile, you mentioned, I just want to follow up in terms of, what are some of the trends that you're seeing around, cloud adoption within I'm going to start with South Africa first, and then I don't know if you have a view of like across the continent. Yeah.
You know, I think for me, cloud adoption is really influenced by quite a number of factors. I think firstly, if you look at what's happening in terms of the global macroeconomics, as well as some of the geopolitical stances that we're seeing, that first and foremost tends to motivate the cloud adoption for very specific reasons. But if you bring it closer to home, I think, elements such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, they're now becoming the catalyst into cloud adoption. And I think customers are now appreciating the value and the operational efficiencies that some of these technologies or emerging technologies are bringing to bear within their environments. And further to that, I think there's also been a lot more appreciation of a hybrid by design strategies where customers are not only just seeking a public cloud-first strategy. I think they're now seeking at different models, be it a public cloud combined with private cloud or multi-clouds, etc., to really gain the best value possible for the business outcomes that they're trying to achieve for their own businesses.
What would you say differentiates HPE's cloud strategy from what we're seeing in the local market? How are you guys going about that?
I think our HPE GreenLake platform really sets us head and shoulders above the rest, above our peers in our local market, for the simple reason that we really follow a edge-centric, cloud-enabled, data-first approach that is in a sustainable manner. And we really work very closely with our clients in really helping them achieve some of their digital transformation goals through HPE GreenLake. And given the fact that HPE GreenLake really unifies multi-generational IT strategies for our clients, it really helps them to become or enables a very simple, single, consistent cloud experience everywhere. And then we find that our collaboration with some of the hyperscalers also resonates quite well with our clients, where we're able to deliver data protection services regardless of where the data may reside. For instance, we're able to provide visibility into application performance and infrastructure regardless where it resides. So that collaboration with the broader ecosystem brings about quite a unique value proposition that HPE brings to bear in the market.
And what would you say in terms of, we're seeing a lot of, the hyperscalers bringing data centers into South Africa or building data centers or zones, if data center zones. What do you think that, what does that mean for the market and economy, if you can tell us more about that?
I think, in my opinion, firstly, it tells you a lot about South Africa being an investment destination where we're seeing there's multinational investing in our local economy. And obviously with that comes about an upside where we can create more jobs, where we can create more opportunities for people. So I think that is great. I think we'll welcome that any day. But also it brings about an opportunity for us to collaborate with the broader ecosystem, to my earlier point, in bringing quite a unique value proposition to the South African market at large, where our communities can benefit from. But also, if you look at the trend in terms of the data center infrastructure, it makes sense. And I think the timing of it is right. I mean, case in point, you mentioned earlier, just today, we're already on a stage 6 load shedding. So to mitigate the risk to businesses and to operations and to mitigate the unemployment issues, businesses, there's a trend where they're now outlaying or migrating a lot of the infrastructure into a data center facility to mitigate the disruptions that are brought to bear by certain things like load shedding, etc. And also, of course, to try and be really careful around the cost that suddenly businesses have to incur unbudgeted, that comes with the impact of load shedding. So to mitigate all of these elements, it just really makes sense that there's this trend of data center infrastructures coming into South Africa and South Africa becoming quite an attractive investment destination.
I'm on the government beat, so I cover the public sector quite extensively. Good. And one of the criticisms is that public sector is very slow in terms of digital transformation and moving with and considering how technology is just advancing. So what I'd like to find out from HPE is that what are your plans around in regards to the public sector? How are you working with the public sector to try and get speed up a few things?
Sure. Look, I think there's always room for improvement across the board, not just in public sector. And for us, I really appreciate and I really value all of our clients that really have entrusted their investments with HPE. To answer the question specifically around public sector, I often say to my peers, it's a privilege to work with public sector as an ICT service provider, because in doing so, you're really helping the public sector deliver an improved or a better citizen experience. And who are the citizens? We are the citizens. Our families are the citizens. And therefore, we really carry the accountability to ensure that whatever solutions we bring to public sector, for instance, those solutions can really make a meaningful difference into the lives of the citizens or the experience of the citizens from the services that these government departments deliver to us. So I think from that point of view, we take public sector extremely seriously, as we do other industries, for the simple reason that it really benefits us at the end of the day. With regards to the pace at which public sector is perceived to be moving, I think for me there is room for improvement, definitely, but I also think there's certain nuances that we may not be privy to.
Okay.
That really inhibits them to progress at a pace at which we expect or at which we would prefer. But then again, that also poses an opportunity for some of us who work with the public sector to understand some of those challenges in terms of what are some of the inhibiting factors that really bring about these delays, so that we can work with them in terms of accelerating the delivery of services, particularly the ones that will make a meaningful impact in our society.
And what's your take on PPPs to kind of deliver on those service delivery requirements? What would you say needs to happen around that?
I think private and public partnerships are important. I think we've seen some of the benefits that they've yielded, where they've been embraced in a proper manner. But I think where I'd like to draw caution is really around not to enter into a triple P for the sake of a triple P. Okay. It's really around entering into a triple P for the sake of addressing a very specific challenge or a specific problem, and doing that proactively and be quite clear in terms of what is the measure of success, so that come the end of the term, we're quite clear in terms of what we've delivered versus the intent.
And if we were to look at HPE's investment plans for the market,
yes,
what are those, if you are able to tell us more on that?
Sure. I think we've had quite an interesting, in fact not interesting, exciting rather, journey around investments. I think since 2015, we've acquired in excess of 25 companies.
Is that locally?
Underpinned by connectivity, data, and cloud. To give you an idea, from a connectivity point of view, we've acquired businesses like Aruba, we've acquired Silver Peak, we've acquired Axis, where we deliver our cloud security value proposition. We've also, in the cloud space, we've made some significant acquisitions, most recently Ethernet, as well as the Red Pixie. So Red Pixie, to your earlier question, is actually a local company. Through Red Pixie, although we've rebranded it and integrated it into HPE now, we deliver the cloud consulting services from South Africa across the world. So we've made some of those investments in the local market as well, which is great for us. And then from a data point of view, data protection is quite important. We've seen a number of organizations that have been compromised in terms of their data security. We've acquired companies like Zeto that really helps in terms of providing that value proposition not only into the local market, but across the globe where HPE is represented.
And if we were to look at, if you could just give me a sense of the HPE business locally in terms of the staff complement and who's there, who sits where, and
sure.
Yeah.
I think our business locally is really made up of just below 200 staff members, or team members rather, and is really made up of the enterprise business, where we deliver the data center value proposition or the private cloud value proposition. We also have an Aruba business where we deliver the connectivity value proposition, including the hybrid cloud consulting business done in Cape Town, the old Red Pixie business that was acquired. So that really makes up HPE in South Africa. And then lastly, we also have our research and development business, also based in Cape Town. So we do a lot of R&D from Cape Town itself. And this is where I would also encourage quite a number of customers that are looking to co-create with ourselves to really reach out to us, and so that we can try and explore the art of the possible. I'm always excited about a business problem and working with our customers in trying to find the right offerings in addressing some of those challenges. So that, in a nutshell, is really the makeup of HPE in South Africa.
And you mentioned the R&D center in Cape Town. Does that service the locally?
Not only the local markets, but also the global market as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And you spoke to like one of the challenges around here in South Africa is obviously unemployment and youth unemployment and lack of skills, which is something that is always out there, and there are initiatives that are trying to upskill young people, or skill them and upskill other people that need the necessary skills. And ICT is always punted as the main sector that is able to create these jobs, but because of this lack of skills, it's impossible. So what would you say needs to happen? Like, how do we address these challenges as a country? Get more young people within the sector that you guys are working in, and get them skilled to be part of that, and grow and be well employed, obviously, and grow the sector as a whole. What would you say?
I think if you look at the emerging technologies in this sector, I think the growth of technology is quite happening at a rapid pace. So that then also creates the need for us to build new skills. That creates the need for us to reskill ourselves. So I think from that point of view, it becomes incredibly important for everyone in our economy, not only just ourselves, but also everyone in this ecosystem of ICT, to be quite intentional about job creation, number one, the skills development, number two, and also building the right skills for the future. And what does the skills of the future fundamentally look like? And I think that, for me, that's the next definition that we fundamentally need to explore, and also how that correlates with the tertiary institutions and the education that we give at an education level. Is that in line with some of the new skills that the economy requires, and is it relevant? So I think those are some of the ideas that need to be explored a lot further. And again, the partnership with government becomes incredibly important, where we bring to bear some of these ideas and really explore whether or not what is possible and what won't be possible in this new era of the digital world.
Just to find out from an HPE point of view or perspective, what are you guys doing in terms of getting young people within the business to understand the HPE business, like whether it's through training or internships, or just so that they understand that, okay, if I work for I can work for an HPE company and work in the ICT industry. These are the skills I need, and then obviously you guys are upskilling them and reskilling everyone. So what are you guys doing in terms of what programs do you have in place?
Yeah, so we have HPE Education Services that we leverage, where we bring in some of the new talent into our business, where we can train them and upskill them across the HPE portfolio. We also have internship programs. In fact, just last week we've had our new intake of interns. So we're quite intentional about job creation and skills development, and we do that in partnership with some of our partners. HPE is a channel-centric business, so we don't trade directly with customers, only in exceptional cases, but in the majority of the cases we trade through channel. And through or in partnership with some of our channel partners, we work with them to try and have a far bigger impact in terms of the pool of people that we can upskill. And also some of our end customers have also expressed an interest in really working closely with us in terms of creating a program that will extend far broader than our current reach. And that, for me, are some of the things that really excite me, where there's an interest that is shown across a number of institutions to work a lot closer to us. And the skills development for me is something that's really critical in terms of alleviating poverty, alleviating the high unemployment rates that we have in the country. So I don't think we can ever get to a point where we feel that we've done enough. I think there's always an opportunity to do a lot more. and which is why we always seek at new ideas, new opportunities where we can not only do it ourselves at HPE, but leverage our entire ecosystem in really trying to make a meaningful impact to a far broader reach.
And I think as the last one, what I'd like to find out from you, what is your take of the local ICT industry or sector? What do you what do you think is happening or needs to happen within that space?
I think it's exciting. I mean, you mentioned earlier the multinationals investing in our country, so that tells you a lot about what this country has or what this country really can offer. And I think that in itself just makes the competitive landscape quite exciting in terms of us remaining relevant, or any entities that's within this ecosystem. To remain relevant, you'll have to be quite specific in terms of what's unique that you bring to bear, in terms of the value proposition that you bring to bear, and what fundamentally is the challenges or the problems that you are looking to support our customers overcome. So I think it's really exciting times, and I think this is a time where we really need to take advantage of the opportunities that are also brought by some of the challenges that we face. You know, when we talk about load shedding, yes, it is quite a concern, but what are some of the opportunities that we can explore as a result of that? Equally so, if we talk about sustainability, you know, are we quite intentional about what we're doing from a sustainability point of view? How are we protecting the planet as opposed to just being led by profits and delivering shareholder value?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sandile. That was Sandile Dube. He is the country manager for HPE South Africa. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Sim, for having me.